Hey, people, what's good? This is episode 50. This is Sports Debate Tuesday. And the episode starts. I got the giggles, bro. The episode starts right now. What's up, people? This is episode 50, along with my man Rob. Keep it McLean. McLean. I am Jason DeBeas. This is Sports Debate Tuesday, and Daddy is back. Rob McLean, we got a little bit to talk about today. Peterson gets the heave ho from Philadelphia, which I thought was long overdue, and I think you share my sentiment on that, right? A lot of upsets this weekend. I mean, that was very weird watching the Rams beat the Seahawks and watch Russell like fighting quicksand. It was like the harder he fought, the deeper he sank until he was in over his head, you know. And I have an affection for the guy, so I felt for his plight. But it's something you and me kind of saw coming. You looked like you were gonna go to Rams on your pick six last week, right?
Yeah.
Right. So, but first things first. National championship game last night for college football supremacy. Number one Alabama against number three, 7-0, number three Ohio State. Bama, I think the only thing I could say is put a whooping. Put a whooping on Ohio State. Take the fact that Alabama, the Tide, Roll Tide, was already favored to win. Take the fact that Ohio State lost several players, particularly on defense, to COVID and other injuries. Take the fact that Trey Sermon, who's Ohio State's biggest standout, in my opinion, even more so than Justin Fields, got hurt the very first play of
Very
the
first
game. Didn't look good. I mean, to me, the only thing that surprised me was that the score was 14 up after the first quarter. They just, when Bama scored, they scored, but Nick Saban's a defensive supposed genius, and you knew he's going to crack the code, and it didn't take much when you got backups. So the question is, Rob, and we can spill over some follow-up questions on this, but the main question of this topic is, what does this game do for Nick Saban's legacy?
I mean, for his legacy is, I think as soon as he got the job at Alabama, I think he was going to do exactly what he's done. Win what 8 out of 11 years. National championships. 7 out of 10 years. So, yeah, he's. He just makes himself, one of the best coaches, of all time, because it's not going to stop. I think it is a great testament to his coaching abilities to bring all these, personalities and all these great players to fruition. But at the end of the day, he's got freshmen, sophomores dominating on the defensive line while you got in skill positions behind them, linebackers and defensive backs and safeties, playing their third and fourth year. So it's like, he's got all the tools to play with, and it's kind of unfair. It's been unfair for a very long time, but pretty much just LSU and Alabama have those abilities to pull that many players to their school to make it where even their backups can beat most of these top 5 teams. So what I just saw last night was vintage Bama, where even if they lost one of their top senior defensive players to a targeting call, which again needs to be refined because there's way too many of the best players being lost at the best possible games of the year, and then obviously it's going to be a big difference, but not for Bama. They lost their best player, their senior caller, and they made one slip up on defense, didn't cost them a touchdown, and then they were just a shutout team for the rest of the game. So I mean, yes, you got to give credit where it's due. He's got the wins to show, but man, there's just so much talent in Alabama and in football and in college football in the southern states that how do you not win with that much talent?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
good on him, but I wish if some of those guys would go to other places to make their name shine. Maybe they make it to the pros and be those top draft picks instead of fighting behind certain guys, So I think I would hope things change.
Before I answer the question about Nick Saban, I'd like to cite this Ohio State coach for the awesome work that he's done to even get into this picture. You only had a minimal amount of games. The Michigan game got canceled. They almost weren't even invited to the Big Ten championship because there were not enough games. Somehow, some way they got an exception. Somehow, some way they got into this Final Four, and somehow, some way he used his quarterback was ailing. Trevor Sermon came up big, and they beat Clemson and prevented what was supposed to be a true rematch of the ones versus two, which has been like, you said Alabama's been there 7 of the last 10 years, and I would suggest so has Clemson been there. I've always classified Nick Saban as a very good mechanic in a room full of Ferraris. He gets the best recruits. I mean, Georgia. They say Georgia gets all of the top 50 or whatever, but at the end of the day, anyone that's within that top 50, if Nick Saban's getting them, they're going to be the best recruits. So I've never given him all of the respect he deserves. I've always given him his respect because you don't become a head coach and then coaching the NFL and land these college jobs because you know people. I mean, that might also be included but not limited to such, Rob, but let's be real. It's college football. If you win games, you're on TV more. If you're on TV more, the college makes money off of the backseat of these kids who ain't going to make some money. So with that being said, I owe this man more respect than I've already given him. Though I don't consider it an insult to call him an okay mechanic in a room full of Ferraris, you can only beat the teams they put in front of you. You can only play the players that you recruit. And he's done everything right, and he's minded his P's and Q's. And at the end of the day, he will go down as the best college coach in the history of college football because of these lurking variables, but not only because of that, because we on this same show might even talk about professional coaches, NFL coaches, NBA coaches that have the same amount of tools and don't win championships. So there's something to be said about not just getting all the necessary tools you need to win, but at the same time you still have to win, right? I mean, do we want to talk about beach volleyball, right? Do we want to talk about beach volleyball? Do we want to talk about USC, which is the hotbed for recruiting? Do they win every year? No. I mean, their women's team didn't win the last 2 years, and their men's team has been. I don't like to use the word disgrace or abysmal, and of course I know I'm gonna get some blowback because I live in the South Bay, and this is USC alum territory where, to their credit, they take care of their own, and I love, from the McKibbins to Triborn to everyone that played at USC, all the way back to Steve Timmons. I'm a USC fan, so I'm not trashing them. I'm just giving an example of a place where you can recruit all the best talent, but at the same time, you're not going to be at the end if you're not an okay mechanic. Not okay. If you're not a very good mechanic in a room full of Ferraris, then Ferraris are going to break down on the road. They're not even going to get to the starting block. All right, or they're definitely not going to make it to the finish line. So never mind that. So in conclusion, what does this do for his legacy? It doesn't cement it. It doesn't do anything for his legacy because his legacy was already there.
From the second he took that job.
Yes, from the second he landed in Alabama. And he said this was the best Alabama team he's ever coached talent-wise from across the board. And if you look, everyone's talking about Devontae Smith. Electrifying wide receiver that creates a ton of separation that I'm positive he's going to be able to do in the NFL. Everyone's like, oh, this is college. Oh, he's not going to do it in the pros. Let me tell you something. Amari Cooper, there are a lot of good receivers out of Alabama. And wherever that receiver from the Cowboys came from. In fact, Justin Jefferson. I mean, we can name 5 examples of people that create separations and make professional veterans look like fools. So he will do well in the NFL, but he's not even a guy that stuck out for me, Rob. I mean, Mac Jones, man, 464 yards passing, 5 touchdowns, an 80% completion percentage. Because there was so much attention on him. How about Najee Harris? Only 79 yards on the ground. I mean, got 2 scores, but let's not forget about total yards. I mean, the guy, I believe, he got 79 yards. He got 79 yards receiving. So he killed Ohio State on the ground and the air. So as far as total yards, reached triple digits. Also another reception touchdown. So that's 3 in total for him. So I'm amazed at this kid Devontae Smith that you got this blue chip quarterback putting up the numbers. You got this blue chip running back putting up the numbers. You're always going to have a good defense because it's Nick Saban. And the guy that stands out is this skinny little kid, man, who might have to put some weight on him when he goes to the NFL.
He looked pretty thin, but, the other one, Jalen Waddle, is even smaller.
Yes.
I think they'll hold their own. And, the biggest thing about receiving is, if you're good enough, you don't get touched, so.
It's true.
And I think that's what a lot of them work off of. And receiving is a very individualistic, art where, you're trying to get away, you're trying to get room and space from your defender, as well as running the route that you need to run for the team, for the play to work. So, I think a lot of that has to do with the individual player. And if they're that fast or they're that good at route running, a lot of times they don't need to be that big because, they're going to dive down, but, underneath a tackle or get yards after the catch anyway. So I think for me, a lot of it is, how good are your hands? How well do you, run your routes and past that, then we can start talking about physique. Yeah. And he does both of them A+. So
I also think there's something that when you have return and repeat champions or repeat Final Four contestants, as far as the college scene is concerned, I think it's good for the sport of football as a collective whole, because when you watch the NFL, you see these. Think about all of the people the last 4 or 5 years that have played in that national title game or the national title Final Four that are absolutely highlighted in Pro Bowl material now, like Amari Cooper, right? Alabama, Clemson, right? Deshaun Watson just set the world on fire in both of those finals, and he's a starting quarterback for the Houston Texans. Please tell me this Cowboys receiver. I'm gonna forget his name. CeeDee Lamb. I forget the school he went to, but he is electrifying.
Oklahoma.
Sammy Watkins. Clemson. Basically, Oklahoma. That's been in I guess out of the last 7 years, I think they've been in 3 Final Fours, right? And that's Baker Mayfield. That's Jalen Hurts. That's Kyler Murray.
Kyler Murray, yeah.
And now all of these people are not just in the NFL. They're not just on a 53-man roster sipping Gatorade. They're in there getting it in. So great way to close the door on college football, at least for now. Great way. COVID's gonna get, when the more people you have on a roster, the bigger the chance that COVID's going to happen. And I know there's a fact that, transmitting it without a mask or closed spaces is going to spread the disease. And facts are facts, but the reality is, and I had a conversation with someone this morning, the reality is people are not going to stay at home until it's gone, right? You have to find ways to cope. And I thought for the most part, I think college football, I give them a B. I'll give him a B+, whatever. So, in fact, Tim Tebow argued staying on campus and not spreading the infection, probably worked better for people, Or maybe we're just two sports fans. I got tired of watching horse. I don't know. Right? Maybe I should be honest.
I enjoyed watching some college football.
It was really fun. And God bless all of them that made it happen, and did the best of their ability to make sure it was done right. So, topic 2, Rob. Here we go. Back to the NFL last week. A lot of Ravens was not considered an upset by most of us. I didn't really go out on a limb to pick them. Tampa Bay visiting Washington. Oh, they might beat them. Nobody was thinking that. They knew Tampa Bay was going to win, even though this kid, the Heineke, surprised the world and only came within 1 score of tying that. So that turned out to be an interesting game. Buffalo, my team, hey. 27-24, survived a scare, a little Hail Mary scare at the end with Phillip Rivers. Though the non-call 1 or 2 plays before that was highly controversial. That guy, I thought that was kind of a fumble. And I think for the replay system, that it is designed for close calls. It was a close call. These commentators, that was just too close to call. No, it's not. Not if you have a replay system. The purpose of the replay system is for close calls. Do your job. So, but that's not what we're going to be talking about in this segment. We're going to be talking about bow wow wow diddy-o diddy-a, bow wow diddy-o diddy-a. Rob McLean, the Cleveland Browns, got turnovers, got ahead, punked, stomped, exterminated, beat down the Pittsburgh Steelers on their own home turf, Rob. So my question to you, because I've been yak, 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 yak. My question to you, Rob, was this game really good Browns or bad Steelers?
I mean, obviously, if you're giving up 28 points in the first quarter, you're not, ready to play. No matter how hard you come back for the next three quarters, whatever it is, 28 points is hard to come back from. So, before we talk about anything, we have to preface with that. But past that, I thought it was a great game. You take out those 28 points, and they won probably the way that I would think they should win. But yeah, Cleveland, I like I said, they might not be the best team. Even they might not be performing the way they should be performing, but they're playing good football. So right out of the gates, they're playing good football, defensively and offensively. And pushing the Steelers, and Steelers weren't ready to respond. I think in that essence, then it's just good Browns, because they really took it to them from the start, and the Steelers just couldn't, turn it around. But, they did turn it around, so good on the Steelers. But at the end of the day, the game starts, at 15, at that first 15 minutes. So I think it's good Browns. And I think it's good Browns all the way through the game, because there's so many times where they score three times in the middle of the, and right before the half, or they score right before half, they get the ball back, they score again. And, that game is a one-score game, or, a touchdown and a field goal away from being tied. So I think it's just a well-played, long game by the Cleveland Browns. And, I think they're a legitimate team with an actual legitimate coach that's ready to take them to something higher, And the last thing I'll say is the best thing you can do for your team is play in the playoffs, because winning in the playoffs is different than winning in the regular season. Even if you win one time in the playoffs, it just has an effect on players that they want to get back there and do it again. And that goes all the way to the next season and then possibly further. So great on the Browns, because there's a lot of players in that team like Myles Garrett or like Baker Mayfield that really need to play in the playoffs to really, transcend that team and to bring them to a different place. So great win for them. And now we're on to the next week, and hopefully they can do some, play some really good, solid football. And you never know what's going to happen with Kansas City. They could burn them out from the first quarter like they just did to the Steelers, or, they could stink it up for the first three and try to come back from the fourth. So we'll see.
Rob McLean. Rob, keep it. McLean. Chris Rock compared a career to a job. He says, when you have a career, you can't wait to get back to work. You got this project. You're like, oh man, I where's Tom gone? I got to go home. I don't want to leave. I can't wait to come back tomorrow. But when you have a job, you get there at 9:00, 9:01. 9:01. What the hell's wrong with this watch? So now, with that being said, why am I saying this? In professional sports, the difference between people looking at their position as a career or a job are wins and losses. When you lose and you're in a bad environment, an unencouraging environment where people are just going through the motions or whatever, it doesn't feel like a career. It feels like a job, and you can't wait to get the hell in and out fast enough. And we know we've seen some teams like that just kind of all give up on each other, and they just don't want to be there. But then you see like Tom Brady, right? Goes to Tampa Bay. Everyone's talking about how old he is, but those same people in the same breath are like, Tom, got some room on that roster for me? Can you talk to the GM? Can you talk to Bruce? So very, very important to Cleveland to win this playoff game and to win in playoff scenarios, because now, even if they don't beat the Kansas City, they can't wait till next year. Voluntary training camp? That's not voluntary training camp. Volunteer? No, we're all coming,
We all.
So
Yeah.
we have a videotape session. Boom, the classroom's full. Coach, tell us what's up. You know what I'm saying? Oh, big up to this coach too. Big up to the special teams coordinator who was the acting head coach, which I thought was a brilliant move because you let the OC be the OC and the DC be the DC, right? And they still get their offense or whatever. And there's nobody more qualified for a head coaching job than people that have to master the art of subbing people in and out last minute and seeing situations for where they were. So great decision to have him. And look what happened. I mean, everything on defense, anything that even resembles special defense looked like special teams. Right? The ball got hiked, the defense recovered it. Ball gets tipped at the line of scrimmage, you got this 300-pound guy going horizontal diving for the interception. Tell me that defense didn't look like special teams. That defense had special teams written all over it, okay? Now, as to the question whether it's good Browns or bad Steelers, I asked the question, but at the same time, I hate the question because the answer is always going to be both, but the answer is in the middle. But as to the question of which side of the middle, I gotta go with bad Steelers. You picked the Browns to win, so I'm just gonna say you knew something I didn't. Okay, you and Evan Corey, all right? But I picked the Steelers because the Steelers were a failed 2-point conversion away with Mason Rudolph. Okay, at the Browns. I believe that was at Cleveland. So I'm like, if Cleveland needs to survive 2 points, what the hell do you think Ben's going to do to him? Ben's going to light him up maybe for 501 yards, and 4 touchdowns, except without the 4 interceptions. So I got to go bad Steelers because in addition to them being unlucky, sometimes the way the ball bounces or whatever, they were also terrible. That ball on the first play that got hiked over Ben Roethlisberger's head, there's no way him or Connor should not pounce on that ball. Pounce on the ball, wind up on the 1-yard line, punt for your life, or wind up in the end zone, get the safety. There's no way that they should be doing this little campfire around the ball and then decide to get on it, then it squeezes out. Next thing you know, you got all these orange helmets on it. So that's bad Steelers. These tip drills and people not recovering from these tip drills, man, that's bad Steelers. He got 501 yards passing, but we both know those are empty calorie yards, And the only thing I'd like to see Cleveland do better is when they're ahead, don't be scared to run up the score. If you're passing and all of these plays that you do to light up a team is what puts you ahead, in order to stay ahead and not punt the ball and give them the ball back or not turn over the ball, is to keep doing what you're doing until they make the adjustment. So I say the answer's in the middle because Cleveland, you still got to put up the yards, right? Baker Mayfield played a tight game, man. No interceptions, three Benny Bones, 263 yards. Nick Chubb, stingy yards, 76. Kareem Hunt. Those are the 2 people you said that were going to win this game for Cleveland, and they did get they got a combined 26 touches. These are the kind of guys, if you're ahead, you want them to get, if that's how Cleveland chooses to stay ahead, give them 35 touches combined. Because I believe you, I co-sign with you that I think that they I'm not saying they're the MVP, like you're the most important player, but those are the guys that are going to win a game when everyone's good. Rob, it's a playoff situation. Everyone's good. Who's going to bring them over? So, yeah, man. Nobody misses Odell Beckham, huh? Jarvis Landry, 92 yards receiving, one touchdown. Nick Chubb also got 69 yards in the air. So, 76 on the ground, 69 in the air. So, the answer's in the middle, but I go bad Pittsburgh on this. They were just terrible. They were terrible. It was 28 points by the time the beginning, somewhere in the middle of the second quarter, it was 28 points. And they trailed as much as 35-7. Terrible. Which game did you like watching this weekend? I know you watched them all.
I honestly really enjoyed the Bills game, and I know you hate it, but I love the Bills game. The Bills game was, a lot more exciting than I thought, and not more exciting than I thought. I thought it was going to be a very close game. But, it was vintage Phil Rivers where he gives you an exciting game and he loses at the end.
That's that Jekyll and Hyde quarterback, dude. Don't you think I was scared? Which Phil going to come out? Old man Phil? Old man Rivers?
Right.
Or the guy who's like, I'm in a good mood today. I feel like passing some balls to anybody. What's your name? I don't care. Hit you in the jerseys. Hit you in your hands. Dude, when he went when there was only a few seconds left, and I knew he was going to throw a Hail Mary, I ran behind a wall and was
I
and
don't
like
know
an
why.
idiot and like an
I was
a-hole. I
surprised
was
he even got it
peeking,
there.
but I ran behind a wall and I was peeking from behind the wall to watch the game. I was watching the TV like it was gonna do something. I'm peeking around the wall watching the TV like I don't
I
know.
know. I
It
know.
just shows how
But
much I
I
care.
was like, I was surprised he even got it because he literally looked up to the heavens and threw that ball straight up in the air. Like he had zero arm strength.
Yeah, it
It
died,
was
right?
funny. It didn't even reach the end zone, I
Yeah.
don't believe. But yeah, it was still
Hmm.
it's still pretty dang close. And you never know what's going to happen. I feel like a lot of coaches should be training that. Like in the Hail Mary situation, just hit the ball up in the air, and now you have a chance to catch a ball that's not like coming down from,
Is it
25 feet in
is
the
it
air.
Phil's last year?
I don't know if it's his
God,
last
quick
year. I don't
question.
know if he got a 1 year
So
contract because they have Jacoby Brisket behind him, and he's not a franchise guy. So
that's a
I
quick
think they're
question,
just kind
man.
of waiting in the wind. Um, you know,
We're
just
gonna put
waiting
that.
on the quarterback.
Tell you what, we're gonna get back on that one because there's
Yeah,
two other quarterbacks that came in the league around the same time. I want to ask that same question. All right, so
for sure.
that'll be on our quick question. All right, but
Perfect.
for me, the game that was interesting was Washington and Tampa Bay. I just thought it's night, and you kind of have it on in the back while you're eating pizza or whatever or Thai food, and I'm like, interesting. Why is Tampa Bay not stomping their guts out? you know, and that was the most
They're a good
interesting
team.
game to me this weekend. Even though it was the game that I thought where the winner was obvious, but in the matter how it was always interesting. All right, so guys, we're gonna do. Last week was our one off for pick six. The guest already won. They were ahead. They played keep away ball. You know what I'm saying? Like all of us are really good at the end, right? All of us are going 6-0 and 5-1 at the end, and going to Evan Corey. You're 5-1. Corey's 5-1. You guys picked the Browns wisely, and all of us had to eat that hot L with the Rams and the Seahawks. So we're not doing totals. That's our last pick six. And since they're all pick fours and pick twos from now on, me and Rob McLean go mano a mano. You versus me, baby. Last man standing. May the best man win. Boom. Fist bump. Boom. All right. So let's do our pick NFL picks segment. No more pick six, of course, because there's no 6 games to pick. Let's start with the first one. Actually, time wise, I'm gonna go random. I'm not gonna go by first game like chronological order. Let's just go. We'll call this game one. Rams visiting the Green Bay Packers. Bobby McGee, who you got?
I mean, yeah, I'll go with the Packers on this one. Yeah, I think that any team that goes against Aaron Donald and that run defense is going to have a tough time. But the Green Bay run the ball a little differently. They obviously with Aaron Rodgers there, they're able to pass the ball a lot better, a lot quicker, and then off that they're able to kind of zone run through a defense. So I think they're going to be pretty successful and kind of stifle that front line for the Rams. So I'm going to go with the Green Bay Packers.
I'm going to go to Green Bay as well, and I think it's going to be cold. And people is like, "Oh, it doesn't matter, it's cold," but that's ridiculous. It absolutely does matter, as far as traction, as far as getting your lateral movement, and as far as people trying to play defense against people, scrambling quarterbacks and running backs that can do that. Expect Aaron Rodgers to start the fire in that cold weather, and expect the other Aaron Jones, to keep that fire lit in the second half. I expect him to get ahead, and I expect that running game. It's old school, traditional, get ahead and then ground and pound football. I believe the Rams are very, very stout against the run, but I think the longer their defense is on the field, the more it's there's going to be a shift in that. And by the way, Aaron Jones is a bruiser, man. So I go Green Bay. Game 2, we got the Ravens visiting the Buffalo Bills. I'm going to go first, and I'm going to cite as a pretext that I'm not objective. I'm not only am I a prisoner of the moment every moment I talk about the Bills, but I believe in the world of scrambling quarterbacks, I think it's going to be a wash between Allen and Lamar Jackson. The only difference is I think Allen's going to beat them by land and air. And though the Ravens defense is tough up front, and though they do not have Zach Moss this weekend, that works for Singletary because Singletary gets better with more touches. So I expect him to get 70, 80 stingy yards against the Ravens. I expect Allen to light up a secondary that plays the receivers close to their belt. But if you do that against Diggs, you're going to pay. You do it against Beasley, he's going to find a slot and catch. So they already know there's a lot of pain coming their way because the Ravens hit hard, but break out the Ben Gay, right? Hurts even worse when it's cold. And normally, momentum-wise, I would go with the Ravens against any team, including Kansas City, but I'm going Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is a tough one because both teams don't necessarily need to throw the football to be successful, and I think they both had their issues on the defensive side of the ball. So, yeah, I mean, this is tough, and I think Allen's just going to prove why he should be MVP caliber this year because he's going to be able to run the ball and throw the ball. And I just don't have enough faith in the Ravens defense yet for the Bills to not beat them. So, I think that call really does work, and there's not many people that can throw the ball in that weather. So I'm gonna go with with the elements. I'm gonna go with the Buffalo Bills again.
Very good. Game 3. Rob, you go first on this one. Game 3, we have the Cleveland Browns visiting the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, I think this game is going to just be kind of a blowout. I think the Browns did kind of did everything they did to beat this Steelers team. And even though the Steelers played bad, they still came back at the end. There still was that what if. So I just think that the Browns are kind of going to be overwhelmed this game with the offensive and defensive pressure from Kansas City. So I'll go with the Chiefs.
Yeah, for me, like Cleveland jumped off to an early lead on Pittsburgh, but if there's any team that can make a 24-point lead disappear, it's the Kansas City Chiefs. They did so last year, trailing 24-0, and in the same quarter tied the game and just kept going. Once they got going, they got going. I like Cleveland Browns' attitude. I like their feistiness, and I like that they stand behind their quarterback, their guy. And there's this true brotherhood happening where they fight for each other and they have this emotional investment. But the divisional rounds before the conference championship games, emotional investment's not enough. You got to have there has to be a combination of a lot of things. And truly, this is separate the men from the boys weekend. And I got to go with the Kansas City Chiefs. It's too many weapons on the wide receiver position. Too many weapons. The running back, they're rested. They're happy. They're thinking of finding a way to be a repeat champion. Oh, and by the way, Mahomes is a top 2 or top 1 MVP candidate. So I'm going with the Kansas City Chiefs. Last game, I'll go first on this one. This is a night game. Tampa Bay Bucks get the third match in the third meeting against the New Orleans Saints. The Saints barbecued them twice. The question is third time a charm? And to me, the answer is absolutely. I'm going with the Bucks on this. Take into account that they didn't have a preseason. Take into account that Antonio Brown joined them later on in the season. Take into account that Antonio Brown is hitting his stride. Godwin, Jones, and Bruce Arians, well coached defense and special teams. Thomas is back for the Saints. Probably the game of the weekend. But I'm going with the Tampa Bay Bucks. Going with Tom Brady. When in doubt, I go with Brady.
Yeah, I just every time this has happened this season with Tampa Bay Bucks, a what if kind of game. They've either lost or they've been absolutely destroyed. So I'm just gonna go with the history on this season. And, I like what the Saints do. I still think they, if they could involve Tyson Hill a little bit, and bring him into the fold a little bit, it would be great for them. But I think their defense is going to ring strong. And then a good Drew Brees. That's what I'm banking on. So I'm gonna
Dude,
go with the Saints right here.
the Saints have given us so many hot L's. I cannot
Yeah.
blame you, dude. I cannot. On our pick six, competing against the guest, the Saints have given us so many hot L's, dude. The only time that we justifiably picked against them is we picked Kansas City, right? I mean, but from then on, it was like a lesson learned thing. It was pretty much like Pittsburgh the first 11 games. All right, so that concludes our NFL pick segment, and now, of course, one of my favorite. Buckle your seatbelts. This is to shame or not to shame.
Shame. Shame. Shame. Shame. Shame.
Come check. Rob,
Hmm.
to shame or not to shame? We got two of them today, brother. Kyrie not playing because of the protest. Shame or no shame?
I mean, definitely shame on him. Just on the fact that when something happens, you don't stop your job to protest that, unless you're just going to go to the protest and be protesting. I just think it's like with Kyrie, he just does way too many things that don't have to do with basketball. And I have no problem with him speaking up about, issues in the public sector, but understand you don't really live in the public sector, so you gotta, the way that he talks is like he's an average human being living the everyday life when it's really not true. He's, has all the little things in this life that he can, make appear out of nowhere. Second off, he's got to start worrying about playing with Durant, because Durant is going to get this guy traded in a heartbeat, with all the off-court distractions and then seriously, and sorry to take all the time, but yeah, this guy is just, he's such a distraction, man. I honestly, now that I see Kyrie Irving, I am totally a LeBron lover, because the fact that this guy could spend that many years with this kid and still win a championship is probably one of the most impressive things I've seen. Pretty crazy.
Rob, I might need a whole minute for this. I might not, but I got to go shame, dude. I got to go shame. Listen, I grew up on Flatbush Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, okay? Rob, you are a black man. Me, I am biracial. I came out of the womb of a black woman, and in many ways, I identify with being African American. In fact, in Brooklyn, New York, I was black, all right? And one of the quotes is, nothing should stop a black man from going to work. What the hell gonna stop? What the hell? Something that has nothing to do with the black man feeding his family, supporting his whatever, stops a black man from going to work. That is, Kyrie Irving, you are ridiculous. Okay, you not wanting to entertain the fans because something that's going on that has nothing to do with the fans that support you. If you think you not playing is gonna force people to take action that don't watch you or support you to begin with, then you're mistaken. You boycott bus systems, okay? You boycott a bus line because they're making African Americans sit in the back. You boycott a university, because they are unfairly treating African American people. Oh, really? What the hell? You boycott, I don't know, Starbucks because they only let white people sit there and hang out in the chairs and not black people. You don't boycott your own damn job out of some stupid illogical, and this guy went to Duke, man. A flat earther from Duke. I gotta go shame.
Year.
I gotta go shame.
1 year.
Huh?
1 year at Duke.
Okay.
He spent 1 year at Duke, and it was like 13 games on the court. He busted his knee. He went to the draft the year after. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't call him a Duke man. I call him he went to Duke.
And guess what? I am a Brooklyn Nets fan. So you know what? I mean, look, he gets a bat.
Y'all wanted him.
Yeah,
this might be the smartest thing that what's his name? The owner's James Dolan ever done.
True that, man. All right, Rob, shame or no shame? Doug Peterson gets the heave-ho, gets fired by the Philadelphia Eagles. Rob, to shame or not to shame?
No shame. This man has just outstayed his welcome. But this is the other problem, and this kind of goes to what we were talking about earlier about the Cleveland Browns choosing their special teams coach as their interim head coach. You know, sometimes offensive coordinator is the job that some people need to be. And sometimes defensive coordinator is the job that they need. Sometimes head coach is not is just too much things to delegate. Sometimes some people are good at delegating things and maybe not so good at offense or defense necessarily. And I think that's just where the whole coaching system is kind of lost, where you got to work your way up. And if you're offensive coordinator, you can get this head coaching opportunity. And it's like, I don't really think that's correct, because at the end of the day, you need to put out the best offense and defense. And I think maybe those coaches could maybe even get paid more. A head coach get paid less, because he's just doing a lot of delegating and a lot of personality understanding and meshing. And I think those jobs are all equally as important, as
No
opposed
doubt.
to the head coach is the head guy and he gets paid the most. And that should be the way it is. There's a lot of amazing offensive and defensive coordinators out there that aren't necessarily, head coach material. And I think they need to really be, spotlighted and headlined
Yeah.
as
Rob,
more than, the John Grudens and
nah,
stuff like
definitely.
that. Sorry.
Nah, with you, man. Come on, man. You had something. You had something to say. Rob, uh, as far as shame or no shame is concerned, I gotta go. As far as the people firing him, no shame. They had to do what they had to do. When we had this conversation, when we saw what the hell he did that last game of the season, starting Sudfeld, when the championship of a conference that he exists in hangs in the balance, that determines, who goes or who doesn't. The way that they allowed Washington to back into the playoffs made me come to you the next day, and I'm like, is he a made man in Philadelphia, that he thinks that they're not going to touch him up on this one? First, he's in a sport where people got fired for less. He's also on a team that just came off a Super Bowl that has a quarterback controversy with the two people that you're supposed to start. All right? And he's also in a city that is so unforgiving, they booed Santa Claus. Santa Claus. Shame on this man for what he did the last season. And I told myself, if he gets fired over this, I ain't got no problem with that, because that was willfully ignorant, and it was protected ignorance, which succeeds into what do we call that? Stupidity. It's stupidity. All right. So, no shame. No shame in him firing him. But as far as shame, for the purposes of shame and no shame, depends on what we're talking about. Shame on him. Should have got fired. Should have got fired. And I think they're talking to Todd Bowles about it. I think he's interviewing for that job right now. Defensive coordinator for, I believe, who's he with now? The Bucks? I know he's been doing some really good work.
I think he was with the Bucks. Yeah,
man.
that sounds right.
I'm glad he got a second shot. He got unsummarily dismissed by the New York Jets, even though he found a way to win 10 games with like nobody. So
Nobody.
yeah. So all right, Rob. So now we go to our next segment. Quick question. Rob, quick question. This is an A or B choice, okay? What was the dumbest coaching move in the NFL this year? And here are our two choices. The New York Jets calling Greg Williams calling a full blitz with 12 seconds left, or the Falcons allowing the onside kick to roll by them in the Dallas Cowboys game.
Just watched that the other day too. I mean, honestly, it has to be the all-out blitz, because not only did they all-out blitz, because they could have just all-out blitzed and got him. They all-out blitzed and they freaking got the catch at the end. It was like wide open, wide receiver. Like, it wasn't even two guys back contesting the catch. Like, it has to be Greg Williams. For sure.
Hell no. I gotta go with the Falcons, man. They had a little camp. They had this campfire. Dude, you know what campfires look like, right? Everyone surrounds this little fire, right? And then they roast marshmallows, and then you sing camp songs and you tell ghost stories and stuff like that. And that's what that looked like as they summarily watched this ball just roll by and the only jersey or the only guy with a star in his helmet went into the campfire, pounced on the fire, put out the fire, got the football, which eventually made the Cowboys win the game, which is a testament to why the Falcons were bad this year, which cost that dude his job. For me, nuts. I mean, the reason why I give the Jets a little bit of a pass is though not everybody will call a blitz. There are two lurking variables. One, I'm 90% sure the free safety or the linebacker missed their assignment. I'm pretty sure there was a third guy that was supposed to go back and make sure that over the back thing didn't happen. I think the axe falls on Greg Williams, and they were all quick to throw him under the bus, even though Gase was gone. They were all gone anyway. So really more like ballast off a sinking ship. But the important thing was the play before that. They called they went prevent. And what's his name got the protection all the time in the world to threw deep, and it bounced off of this dude's hands. I don't know if it was Waller or somebody or Aguilar again, but it bounced off of his hands. So Williams is probably thinking, I can't co-prevent it again. Prevent's gonna prevent me from winning, So still a dumb move. But as far as
it's just a dumb move, like come on, man. Because look, if that guy got another contested catch, do you think he'd be thinking, "Oh, this is going to be an easy one," or "Oh, I hope I don't drop it again"? Do you know what I mean?
But don't you think they'd be criticizing him? Like if he called the same play prevent, and if the guy caught it a second time, don't you think the Monday morning quarterbacks would be like, "Yo, didn't you learn from the previous play?" Sorry,
no, it would be a debate. It would be exactly what that is. It would be a yes. Some people would say yes. Some people would say no. Right now, he looks like the dumbest guy in the room because he tried to be the smartest guy in the room, and that's just the problem.
Ooh, there's something about people that do this for a living, man. Right? There's something about people that do this for a living 24/7 that outsmart themselves. Yeah. I'm like, dude, we're like working stiffs, and even we know that. Do you know? And I'm like, how could you not know that when you're not moonlighting this job, Greg Williams. You're not working at Starbucks in the morning and doing coaching at night or whatever. This is all you do every day of the week, 24/7. How are you going to get that wrong? I agree with you.
I mean, I'm sure he had reasons to do things, but again, like they weren't doing anything this season, and for them to lose that game was actually better off for them because they're getting a good draft pick no matter what. So at the end of the day, they probably should have kept Greg Williams, but they're gonna clean house anyway pretty soon. So
cool.
That's just how it is.
All right, quick question. UFC, who wins between Neil Magny and Michael Chiesa? There's a smaller show happening before McGregor and Dustin Poirier.
I really like Michael Chiesa. When he moved up to the different weight division, I thought he really filled out a little bit more. He wasn't so, rail thin, and I really, he's got all the skills to compete. So I really like, Chiesa for that one.
I pick Chiesa too, but and if he wins this is a big win for his career. Neil Magny is a constant pressure dude on the ground and on his feet. He's got long arms. He can take a shot. You never see him get finished. You saw him got tapped out, but only by people like Damian Maya or RDA. You know what I'm saying? You're supposed to tap out. If Magny wins, I always root for Magny no matter who because I just like his work ethic, but I pick Chiesa, and I think it's a big career or a big boost to get a bigger number next to his name as far as the rankings are concerned. Quick question: Will Bill Belichick get blowback for not accepting the Medal of Freedom?
Blowback from who?
Exactly.
Yeah. So
the answer is no. I think New England might make him mayor.
Right. I just think, really smart move to distance yourself from people who aren't. I think he's just doing a Bill Belichick. I'm smarter than everybody else.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot of people who would have, on the slide, said yeah, and then just had it for a story later on in life. But it matters how you get that too. Right. I think he's well deserved of it. Yep. I don't even know why he was getting the medal, but I think he can earn it maybe in a better period, and it might mean a little more something to him.
I think there's also about timing. All right, like just for the record, like Donald Trump was Bill Belichick's friend before. When he was doing wrestling with Vince McMahon and, hosting all those shows back then, when Bill Belichick was a defensive coordinator for the New York Giants. So there's a friendship that goes on that you're kind of like family, so regardless. But I thought him the timing of it was very, very inappropriate for him to say no thanks, because the same day he was supposed to get it was the same day they were burying the police officer that got killed. So you can't have those two things happen on the same day. You know, he would have got a ton of blowback if he said yes. So saying not now or thanks but no thanks, that was not only appropriate and not only adequate for his career, but imperative. So quick question. Should Big Ben go? Should Big Ben come back next year?
I
Regardless
think
of his
that
contract.
the Steelers need to probably find a legitimate second option that can be in or challenge Ben for the starting position, because in all seriousness, Mason Rudolph is not that guy. So
Yep.
I think they need to bring in a second option, a real second option. I would love to see a Jacoby Brissett play for a team like that. I'd love to see them draft maybe one of these top flight guys. Trade up into the mid second round or mid first round and just pick up one of these quarterbacks that drop a little bit. Who knows? So. I think it's time to move on from Roethlisberger.
I don't know Roethlisberger's contract situation. Also, I don't know their salary cap situation or what their draft status is as far as getting first round and second round picks. But I would say work some minor miracles if they can and trade up and get Jordan Love, get Aaron Rodgers back up. I mean, right now he's been Aaron Rodgers back up for like the whole year. He's learned it under LaFleur, whatever. And as far as like inviting someone to camp or whatever, just my gut tells me try him. He's second, third year. You can and if you're right, you got him for the next decade in a system with Mike Tomlin, and Mike Tomlin's worked miracles with Mason Rudolph. So, but Big Ben should not come back next year. Quick question, yes or no? Do the Seattle Seahawks go to the playoffs next year?
Yeah, Seahawks go to the playoffs. Yes, because I think they just have such a defensive identity. But yeah, they're in trouble. I mean, I just don't think they know how to utilize things on offense. And I think this goes back to what we were talking about is. They might need a very creative offensive coordinator, because we all know that Pete Carroll does wonders on defense, but we never really talk about his offense all the way back to USC. He's always had his little issues. He's had his superstar players, whether it's Rebby Bush, Matt Leinart, yada, 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 all the way down the line. But, he's always had those guys to kind of do their own thing out there instead of, systematically breaking down the defense. I think he can do that against other offenses, but as a coach, maybe a Lane Kiffin from the college round might be an interesting route for offensive coordinator, something like that, to be creative and put some points on the board.
Yeah, sadly, I got to go no. I mean, you got Arizona. It's going to be 100% healthy. The San Francisco 49ers will be there. They're not going to – they're going to bring – I mean, it is the kind of division that could bring three teams to the playoffs, but I don't see them finishing on top. And if they're not going to finish, I mean, my bad feeling says no. That concludes quick question. Before we go, R.I.P., big R.I.P. shout out to Tommy Lasorda, our rest in peace. Longtime Dodgers manager, with his highlight probably winning the '88 World Series, beating the Mets, who I believe won 90 games that year, and then beating the Oakland A's, I mean, you could literally see people shaking scared every time they went against those guys, Jose Canseco and Mark McGwire, the Bash brothers. So, but before you give your shout out, I want to talk about exciting basketball teams, all right? The Nets look good. Lakers look like they're on their way to repeat. Really love what Greek Freak's doing. Hey, Charlotte Hornets, you know what I'm saying? LaMelo Ball's doing his thing. Trae Young, second year. But I tell you who still doesn't look hopeful, the New York Knicks. Max Kellerman, on this very day, in fact, today's the 11th or the 12th. Actually, one day, give or take. 4 years ago, Max Kellerman says college football championship is being decided tonight, but Madison Square Garden is sold out. You know what that means? Those people, instead of watching the fate of NCAA football superiority get decided by two amazing quarterbacks, those people chose to watch the Knicks. And as you can imagine, we already know what happened that night. Derrick Rose is missing in action. Never didn't call, didn't show. Carmelo Anthony got ejected. And they got blown out on their own home court by the Pelicans, no less. All right? So the reason why I brought this up is because he humorously said, somewhere in the first quarter, everyone just get up and walk out. Because this guy Dolan is like, I already got your money, but the question is, do we still have to keep giving it to you? 4 years later, the Knicks are playing the Charlotte Hornets. And you could hear by fan participation on the monitors, those people, instead of watching college football, they chose to watch the Knicks play. And the same thing happened. They got blown out by the Hornets. I would rather put it with Kyrie Irving's drama and watch him play and shoot buckets than to ever watch the New York Knicks, at least for now. The only thing that's even redeeming is that we don't have to get up and walk out because there's a pandemic.
We already home.
But what I'd like to do? Like all of those people that are on monitors, I call on all of you guys to turn off your live feed all at the same time. It's in the middle of the first quarter. Everybody turned off their live feed all at the same time. Just go blackout. So 4 years in the making, my man Max Kellerman from ESPN told everybody it's time to make a stand and get up and walk out the door. And that's all I got.
That's too funny. I mean, I don't got no shout outs. I just want everybody to stay happy, healthy, and do what you love.
Yo, right? All I really want is to be happy. We got to do a song compilation on all these ridiculous things I've been just coming up with randomly, right? Between that, Ain't No Sunshine and Gotta Give the People and Step Into a World. Doesn't matter, because this ain't Hawaii 5-0, but this is episode 50, a Sports Debate Tuesday. We did it, Rob. 50 straight weeks, my man. 50 straight episodes. You are a savage. This man, ladies and gentlemen, is a savage. He is Rob. Keep it. McLean. I am Jason DeBiz. This is episode 50 of Sports Debate Tuesday. We're out. Come check out the Option Podcast on optionvb.com. It's also available on iTunes and Spotify and on YouTube under the NY Varsity Sports handle. You're going to love what you hear.